Okay, so this is my introduction to the story Hotel Cambodia by Melanie Cheng in her collection Australia Day. So just before we jump in, there's probably some vocab you'll need to be aware of in case you're not. The first is expat, which is short for expatriate, which basically means people that aren't from that country but are staying within it. So in this case she's talking about the Americans, the Australians, and other people that have established and settled in Cambodia, but who obviously aren't natives and therefore are treated differently. Phnom Penh is the capital of Cambodia. An NGO is a non-government organisation, so for this it's kind of a bit of a catch-all for people that are trying to help out, charitable organisations, things like that. Basically non-government organisations are organisations outside of the government of the country itself who are trying to help out. So you're thinking things like UNESCO, UNICEF, the UN, sort of big bodies like that. So Khmer is the language of Cambodia, Khmer. Motodop, honestly I had to look up despite being to Cambodia 8 or so times. They just refer to them as motos, but motodop means moto as in motorbike, and dop means carry in Cambodian or Khmer. So motodop is a motorbike that carries things. Haggling is when you barter for a price and you talk people down and you kind of, you overact and you find the price that you think is reasonable for the product. When describing the man at the pool, the word hair suit is used, which isn't spelt like it sounds, but it basically just means covered in hair. And it's usually an unpleasant thing in a man, let's say. Marionettes, we're talking little puppets, so puppets on strings are marionettes, and she uses that to refer to the Khmer children who surround the man by the pool. A kroma is a traditional Cambodian scarf, and it has great spiritual and importance to the Khmer people. So most people wear one of these in Cambodia. So a sarong is basically a long piece of fabric that people wear either as sort of like a dress, sort of from the waist down. The disease dengue fever is mentioned, and dengue fever is similar to malaria. You often see people in Cambodia walking around with a stick with a drip attached to it. This could either be from malaria or from dengue fever, but it's caused by mosquitoes. The story mentions Angkor Wat. If you look at the flag behind me, that's the Cambodian flag, and Angkor Wat is featured on the flag. So it's basically a large temple complex dating back to the Angkor period, so way long time ago. And it's the closest thing to describe it to is kind of maybe like the Colosseum of Rome. But it's especially important to the Cambodians because it kind of harkens back to a time when Cambodia was sort of one of the leading civilizations around at the time. Alright, so in terms of techniques specifically for this story, you're looking for similes, metaphors. You're going to focus on the third person perspective, and you're going to look for asides. So simile is something is like something else, and metaphor is describing something as something else. And aside is basically when in a story we imagine that the author is talking to us, and aside is when they say something else or go off topic. So Cheng uses lines to separate out her asides, so it might be something like everything was going well in Cambodia except for the fact that I wasn't feeling welcome, everything was going great. So normally it would be signaled with a bracket, but she uses little lines to break it apart. The actual title itself, Hotel Cambodia, could either be a reference to a punk song called Holiday in Cambodia or Hotel California, but we're presuming that this is an allusion to a famous song. We're just not exactly sure which one. So this story is a great example of the way that Cheng breaks up images into paragraphs. So we see like the children by the pool is a really vivid image that she's described in great detail. And she also has nice, like the woman jumping on the chest, the nurse rather, jumping on the chest of the clearly alive man. So if you are basing your creative response on this type of story, you try to focus on little separate paragraphs exploring different images that I like to think of as sort of snapshots. So you'd probably need to pick, say 5 different photos or different snapshots of something, some objects, and some specific vocab that kind of locates your story within a world, a particular country or a particular place. And then think of 5 really juicy visuals that you want to have within your story to explore within your short story response.